This is the Cover 3 podcast. My name is Sterling Bennett, host of 49ers Access. Alongside me today is Dre from Dre Area Sports, Aaron from 49ers First Takes, and we have a special guest. It is Mike from Fourth and Gold. Going to get into the return of Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall last Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals, then preview this Monday's matchup against the Panthers, and also get into some trade talk regarding Brandon Ayuk and Mac Jones. But Dre, Aaron, Mike, how we doing today on a Friday leading into Week 12 of the NFL season?
I'm doing good. Just happy to be off of work, away from work, and here talking about the Niners. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
Best part of my weekend. It'll be nice to kind of take Sunday off and relax and watch some games. I like to be able to do that, where you don't have to worry about it. Kind of like on bye weeks or Thursday night games too. So enjoy the weekend, enjoy some football, and then get ready for Monday night. Couldn't be better.
Yeah, happy Friday, guys, and I really appreciate you guys putting me on here. Great to meet all you guys in face-to-face, and can't wait to get to this game on Monday night. It's a really big one. Niners are playing these Panthers, and it's going to be, it pretty much counts for two games because, they're playing for the same playoff spot. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's a must-win game for San Francisco on Monday. It'll certainly help their wild card push, but also the Bears and the Philadelphia Eagles have a tough game this weekend, so there could be some maneuvering in the wild card hunt as Week 12 comes and goes. But we have to talk about what happened last Sunday first, and that was the long-awaited returns of this franchise's quarterback, Brock Purdy, and their number one wide receiver, Ricky Pearsall, and what was, I think, the best possible outcome for Brock Purdy in his return. 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, great field positioning, and he looked like what could be a very efficient offense for the San Francisco 49ers going forward. Let's start with Dre here. What'd you make of Brock Purdy's return, and where is your confidence level in the offense going forward now that Purdy's back under center?
Right now, my confidence level is sky high. I mean, look, he came back, and what did he do? He aggressively threw the ball down the field. He threw a dart to Demarcus Robinson to get a first down. He threw great passes, and then he hit the deep route to George Kittle, which it looked great. To me, it looked like he had a really good hold of the offense. He had a good understanding of the offense. And really, it's like we need them to score points in order for the Niners to really stay in and win games. And I think with Brock coming back, we're going to see a lot of that. I mean, he threw for 3 touchdowns. Granted, it was against a banged-up Arizona Cardinals team, but nonetheless, he still did it against NFL-caliber players. And I think that, look, this is a great warm-up game for him. I think Monday night will be a bigger test. Obviously, it's in primetime national television. A playoff spot, is to be had. So I think, look, my confidence with Brock in the offense is sky high. I wish we still could have got more out of Ricky Pearsall, but I think the fact that he was out there, he was running routes and moving, and he left the game healthy, I would take that over anything, especially an injury. Aaron.
No, the game last week he was pretty solid. I think we have to look at Brock differently than we look at Mac Jones, because Mac Jones is essentially, a kind of I call him kind of like a Jimmy G clone. He's very much methodical underneath, hit the quick check down, get the ball out quickly. They play differently. Brock has a more of aggressive play style, which lends itself to sometimes had scratching results. I thought it was a little bit of rust too. So all that was great. He got it out of his system, hopefully last week, but I thought I thought the offense just had a different feel, a different hum to it with Brock Purdy in there. Mainly because they're a little bit more aggressive, moving the ball downfield. There was a couple plays where he made some questionable throws, but that's Brock. That's what he does. That's the difference between him and Mac Jones. But the Niners, with the defense the way that it's been and what's going on right now, they need to score a ton of points, like Dre said. So it was good to get that game out of the way last week, and now we get to go home and have a very winnable game in front of us, and the offense has a good chance to be just as effective this week. So I'm looking forward to it.
Mike.
You muted.
Yeah, it was great to see Brock Purdy back and to see the swag he brings back to the offense. I think you can tell just by all the, the primary playmakers with Kittle, CMC, JJ, even Pearsall, like they had that little bit of swag back to the offense. They were able to push the ball down the field a little bit more aggressively than Mac Jones. Not to take anything away from Mac Jones, because I think, to have him on the team and what he was able to do and his accuracy and everything. But Brock just brings that extra bit of firepower to the offense that we haven't seen all season. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, we throw up the highest point total once we have everyone back healthy and Brock Purdy's there. Like Aaron said, couple throws, you're like, that's Brock. You know what I mean? He's trying to force it, trying to do a little too much when he doesn't really have to. Another thing too, I don't know if you guys can tell me what you saw with his mobility. I don't know if it was all the way there yet. It looked like he was a little bit skittish to really put his foot in the ground and turn it up. But hopefully, as the weeks go on, he gets healthier and we can add that as another weapon to the offense.
Yeah, I think the way I would describe Brock Purdy's return in regards to what the offense looked like during Mac Jones's time as starting quarterback was you went from underdog to the top dog now with your franchise quarterback under center. You have a team that was scoring 22 points per game and now an offense that can hopefully score 28 points per game as the year goes on. I do think Brock is going to be limited with his mobility the rest of the season. I think what you saw against the Cardinals is what you're pretty much going to get throughout the rest of the year, which if you can move in the pocket and just make a few guys miss and not have to utilize his legs too often, I don't think it's a bad thing. I also think that Brock throwing on the run may be hindered the rest of the season, which to me tells, or what I would tell Brock is like, hey, just make the play, hit the check down. If it isn't there, throw it away. And I think you did see Brock learn from that, or at least kind of settle into his role as a game manager of some sorts when they had a big lead later. Because in the third quarter, they're up big. He had already made a couple of oh-no throws, got away with them against the Cardinals secondary, but they're in the red zone, and they call back-to-back passing plays on first and second down, and there's nobody open. He doesn't force those two throws. He throws them away, knowing that we have to get a touchdown here and put this game out of reach for the Cardinals. On third down, he gets Kittle in the back of the end zone for a second touchdown of the day and kind of seals the victory. I do think we did see Brock, after a really good first quarter, have a rocky second quarter, but ended up playing a phenomenal third and fourth quarter to kind of settle things out and clinch that win. But Dre, I want to ask you this. Are you concerned, like Mike hinted at, about Brock's mobility going forward? And do you think that may hinder how far this offense can go the rest of the way this season?
I actually think it may be a benefit for Brock Purdy because, look, a lot of the times he would scramble and do all these things because he couldn't find the right guy open last year, and it would kind of felt like he was pressing to make something happen. And I think that because of the injury, now he's going to stay more in the pocket and look to distribute the ball and only run when he absolutely has to. Against Carolina has the worst pressure rate of the entire league, worse than the Niners, believe it or not. And so because of that, I think he's going to become more of a pocket passer. But in a game like the Cleveland Browns, I think then he'll start to run the ball out of the pocket more often because he's trying to escape, Myles Garrett. But I think Brock's going to be more selective about how he uses his mobility and when he uses it. Because now it's one of those things where it's like, hey, it has to be something that is a necessity on each play if I'm going to be running out of the pocket.
It's funny. Larry made a comment prior to his return about him still not looking like 100%. I felt that completely during the game. I felt he's good enough to get out there and sit behind center and make throws, but he does still look physically compromised to a degree. And I think that has a lot to do with, and that has a lot of an effect on some of those, scrambling type throws where he really can't anchor and throw that thing in there. Things sometimes like the one down near the goal line to DeMarcus, where DeMarcus calls from it and then doesn't actually fight for it, which I thought he knocked it away, but I don't know. I had a problem with that. And Juwan Jennings in the same spot he didn't put enough on that one that was rough. you could see that his mobility and some of his anchor when he's able to kind of put a mustard on the ball, it's just not there. So I noticed that, and you're like you guys said, it's going to be something I think we're going to deal with for the rest of the year, and they're just going to have to figure out a way to work around it. Like you said, Dre, shorter passes, quicker release. He likes to hold on to the ball, Brock. That's one thing I noticed between him and Mac. The difference. Brock likes to wait, whereas Mac is like super immobile and essentially like an anchor in the pocket. So
I think Brock is more comfortable in the pocket, more comfortable than Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones, based on his past experience, he wants to get rid of the ball faster because he's been behind bad offensive lines that have really just led to a lot of sacks. Even this year, I mean, we saw him just getting pummeled against the Rams and against the Cardinals, and still the guy kept fighting, but it feels like he's more tentative. He's more like, I gotta get rid of this football, while Brock is like, no, I'm gonna stay here and I want to get the ball downfield as opposed to going for the check down. And there were plenty of plays where I saw McCaffrey open for a check down that he would pass up because he wanted to drive the ball down the field, which could be a good thing, but also could be a detriment to the team if he's not careful with the ball.
Yeah, Mike.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, hopefully Brock, his toe gets a little bit better going up against this Carolina Panthers, one of the worst defense pressure rates in the league, because he's got Myles Garrett coming up, and dude's going to have to – he's got to put his track shoes on, because this offensive line is not going to be able to hold up, and Brock is going to be probably forced out of the pocket and probably forced, to run around and make some throws, and, we'll see how he holds up with that. But, like you said, if he does hold on to the ball a little bit longer, part of that could probably be because his – wide receivers don't have the most speed, the best separation. He's trying to get that, that bigger play down the field, but these guys just can't separate, so they got to figure something out. They got to find that happy medium, and hopefully Brock will be able to get a little bit healthier as the weeks go on. And then that way he can just at least escape the pocket a little bit more to give these wide receivers a little bit more time to separate and get these plays developed.
We have a $2 super chat from Cam's dad, number one, not to cover up Mike's gorgeous face there in the bottom of your screen, but it says he loves how Brock could throw it away at first. Now, he's obviously being tongue-in-cheek there, but yeah. I do think Brock living to fight the next down is a big factor into maybe being able to continue his playmaking ability while not forcing some dangerous throws downfield. But if you're going to make some dangerous throws downfield, it feels really good to have your number one wide receiver back in the fray to hopefully catch those balls. Unfortunately, Pearsall had one catch for 0 yards against the Cardinals last Sunday, but going forward, I don't know about you guys, I'm expecting Pearsall to pick up some steam and maybe as soon as Monday have a really big impact in a victory this season. I know it wasn't a big output day, and there are some fans out there that would say that if you're this team's number one guy, you have to produce like it. The same thing can be said for A.J. Brown in Philadelphia, but I still love Pearsall. The route running is still there. There was a couple plays on film where he was open. The timing was a little bit off. I know Johnny Dell was hitting that a lot during his breakdowns of last Sunday's game, but would you make a Pearsall's return, Mike? And how do you view his progress going forward?
Well, I am just a little curious of why there was just such a lack of connection between Brock and Purdy. Maybe because, Pearsall wasn't able to practice a lot with him. But then if you heard Kittle after the game talking about how he had a crazy week of practice and they were connected and he was making these wazoo catches and all that. So I was just really kind of confused of why Brock didn't really look his way, really at all, or, the lack of opportunities that Pearsall got. But like you said, I think this game coming up is going to be a big game for Pearsall. I don't think they're going to go back-to-back games, with shutting Pearsall out. So I expect to see Pearsall and Purdy connect pretty big. And considering that this defensive line that they're playing against is dead last in pressure rate, it should give Purdy time enough to get the ball to Pearsall and let him, use his slick route running to be able to get some big plays down the field.
Aaron?
I'm not one of those people that likes to force feed receivers, and whoever is hot on that day is who's hot. So I wasn't really reading too much into the last game. with Pearson not really being a factor, it's just the way that things kind of broke in that game, and I felt all things considered, with Brock being out as long as he was out, Kittle and Juwan have always been kind of guys he likes to throw to anyways. I think everything with time and maturation and him feeling a little bit better, a little bit healthier, a little bit more comfortable, because he was out a long time, man. And so, yeah, I'm not overly concerned about the lack of connection. Hopefully they can do something in this game with not having any rush coming after him, and he can just kind of stand there. There were times last week where Brock had a lot of time, and it made good things happen. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not really overly reading in too much into the lack of connections last week.
So, Aaron, are you saying that you are believing that Princess Pearsall may become Prince Pearsall in the next couple weeks or so?
Yeah, Tony, you don't know about that. That was my nickname. It's been my nickname for him all year because he's always hurt. I call him Princess.
Yeah.
They don't like that very much. Hopefully he can become a prince. Yeah.
You're so disparaging, Aaron, to our players. I'm old school. I get irritated when guys miss a lot of time.
Hey, Aaron, I'm right there with you, bro. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, it's nothing personal. That's just my attitude towards, especially when you hear that he was playing basketball in the locker room, and I do not like Grant Cohn at all. But that was a pretty ballsy question that he gave him the week prior of him coming back. So when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I'd be pissed too. Like, what's up with that? But I'm good now. He's back. All is forgiven.
Well, as Shanahan said, you can shoot hoops in a wheelchair, but I'll pass it off to Aaron here, or Dre, excuse me, as to what you thought of Pearsall last Sunday.
Look, he had very little production, but having him out there, having him, be able to stretch the field and be a distraction for the defense is huge. I mean, anytime you get a number one type receiver back, I don't want to call him elite, but I think he has the elite skills to be an elite receiver. But having a guy like him come back is definitely someone that they have to pay attention to on where he's at on the field. But I think that, when it comes to familiarity, yeah, he's going to go to George Kittle. He's going to go to Christian McCaffrey because those have always been guys that he's throwing the ball to. And I think that, with Pearsall, I think Monday and against the Browns, he'll get more and more catches. I mean, look, a lot of the times it takes a week or two for some of these guys to really get back into the swing of things. Sometimes when they're elite superstar players, they can come right back. But it really, in any sport, it takes them a little while to kind of get back into the swing of things. We've seen it in baseball, we see it in basketball, and we're seeing it here in football with Ricky Pearsall. But I think he's going to be a really, really good receiver. I know a lot of fans are saying, "Oh, this guy's a bust. He's always hurt." Princess. But I think that. When healthy, I think this guy could be. He has all the skills to be a number one receiver for this team.
Feel targeted.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think it's a.
Fred Warner played on a fractured ankle all last year. I don't know.
Hey, it's fair.
Just kidding.
I think it's okay for Pearsall to take a backseat for George Kittle on a heater, who has caught 19 of his last 19 targets for 183 yards and 3 touchdowns. If that connection continues throughout the rest of the year, Pearsall can have 1 catch for 0 yards the rest of the game, because Kittle and Purdy have just been in lockstep really ever since 2022. But if your second-year wide receiver is taking a backseat to that, I don't think it's ever a bad thing, especially if it works and you're scoring 21 points pretty much in a snap of a finger. But let's table the Brock Purdy Pearsall stuff for now, because I don't know why it's happening, but entering week 12, we're getting some Niners offseason talk in the thick of the wild card race and a playoff hunt. Let's talk about the offseason, which doesn't really sound logical, but I don't control the media, so here we are. Let's talk about Mac Jones, because I don't think it's crazy to say that Mac Jones saved San Francisco's season. He played really good in the absence of Brock Purdy, albeit the offense was, let's say, less vertical in their approach against opposing defenses. He did enough to win you a handful of football games, keep your season afloat, and give Brock Purdy and the returning Ricky Pearsall a chance to elevate your offense to newer heights and hopefully a better seeding in the NFC playoff picture. That said, because he played so good in the absence of Brock Purdy, some fans here in San Francisco and others in the media have said, stick with Mac Jones. a former first-round draft pick of the Patriots a handful of years ago in 2021, has revitalized his career. But because of that, now you have Jones under contract through 2026, and now the media believes he may fetch a high-end trade pick compensation in next year's draft if San Francisco entertains the idea of trading him. So I'll ask this question first. Should San Francisco at least entertain the idea of trading Mac Jones during the offseason, knowing how important he was to their season in 2025? Dre, what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I think that for a team that's so invested in next year's draft, a team that didn't make a move at the trade deadline because they wanted to hang on to their draft picks or early round draft picks for next year's draft, I think when it comes to Mac Jones, look, he's done a fantastic job, throwing for over 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He helped carry this team when Brock was down. But look, would I love to have him on the team next year? Yes. But would I love to get a second-round pick for him, if not more? Absolutely. And I think that with Mac Jones, you're going to have a lot of teams out there. What boggles my mind is that Matt Mayoko, who I respect a lot, was on there saying, I don't think he's going to garner much interest. And then now he's like, oh, he may garner a second round pick. So he really backpedaled on that one, because when he said that, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Yes, he is going to garner interest from other teams. I can say right now, the Minnesota Vikings, I can guarantee you, are watching his tape right now thinking, you know what? We did it with Sam Darnold. This guy can be the next Sam Darnold. You think they want to go out there again with J.J. McCarthy? No.
Whoa, you mean 9?
9.
That's a crazy. Oh, dude, what a joke of a nickname and an alternate ego. But Dre, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
Explain the alter ego. Why is he called 9?
Is that a connotation about something else about him?
No. It's his jersey number, first off.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought maybe
let's not read too much into that. You can go into very dark places.
Yeah.
But
Jeez.
for whatever reason, I guess he believes that he kind of gave himself that nickname of 9 because after wins and in fourth quarters, his clutch gene takes over and he goes to a dark place. And I'm like, dude, you are 5-4 this year.
Yeah.
You look terrible. You cannot give yourself nicknames when you're a second-year quarterback playing like a replacement level 1. But that is the lore behind the 9 nickname. Drake.
I mean, look, J.J. McCarthy. He's thrown for 842 yards, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 26.5.
He missed some time, but still,
that's not good. And so, it's not a guy who takes care of the ball. It's not a guy who's managing the offense. I think they're probably saying, hey, look, if we get a guy like Mac Jones in here, we put McCarthy on the bench behind him for 1 year, 2 year, whatever we can get out of Mac Jones, that's going to be great. We saw what he did in San Francisco. We saw how he carried that team with all the injuries they had on both offense and defense. So I think that Mac Jones will definitely garner interest from other teams because, look, teams are always desperate for a quarterback. They're always looking at, like, hey, look, how can we get a quarterback in here? And not to mention, this is a former first-round pick in Mac Jones. So, yes, he will definitely garner interest, and I think they should trade him. Because, for one, I don't think Mac Jones wants to sit on the bench for one more season. He proved this year that he can lead an offense. He could be a starting quarterback. Now, is he going to be a great starting quarterback? I don't know. The verdict's still out on that. He didn't play the whole year. But I think he showed enough, just like how Jimmy Garoppolo showed enough for the Niners to go out and get him. So, yes, I do think they should trade him. I think there will be interest for Mac Jones. And if I was John Lynch, I'd be looking to trade him, especially close to the draft.
Okay. Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I would love to keep him here another year, I mean, you guys know how I've been kind of a jerk about how the Niners essentially are like, this year's kind of like not the year, even though it's, we're in the midst of it and, we're having a decent season. It's not really the year. And then they didn't make any moves at the trade deadline, which kind of reaffirmed that. I call it a throwaway year where if good things happen this year, great. But it's 2026, all in 2026. I've been putting that hashtag on everything. And they want to do like Dre said, try to get some more draft picks. Sure, do it. They need depth on this team. They need to address, if they're going to go the kind of like the cheap way and not going big in free agency again, next offseason, then yeah, I'm all about accumulating picks. I guess my only question would be like, who would you bring in to replace him? Would it be like a Jacoby Brissett? You know, who could you kind of bring in here that would have you feel comfortable if Brock went down again next year? Because, you know, Brock's not the biggest, strongest guy. He's been injured here and there in his career. So there's always a sense that he's going to miss a game or two during the season. So they can get something for him, do it. Build up that defense and offensive line because they really need to, especially after this year. But no, he's done great for the Niners this year. It's I didn't expect him to play as well as he did, considering where he came from, his previous employer, and all that. So, yeah, if they can get something for him, then do it.
Mike, what do you think?
All right, guys, I'm gonna go against the grain here. I
Yes.
absolutely do not think they should trade Mac Jones because
Mike is the new co-host of the show. He's staying on with that take.
Sorry, Aaron, you're out. No, just kidding.
Thanks for coming in here and already taking
I
over.
like how he boots Aaron of all people.
Yeah, not even Dre.
The guy who invited him. Yeah, Aaron, you're out.
Sorry, Aaron. No, but to me, it just shows you, like, having a backup quarterback in Kyle Shanahan's offense that is as good as Mac Jones is proving to be invaluable. I don't care about a second-round pick to get, some random dude who they're going to whiff on anyway in the draft. Mac Jones has proven that he's more valuable than any first-round pick or any second-round pick that we can draft for. Is there a year where the quarterback does not get absolutely demolished in this system because they refuse to address the offensive line? This is the team where the quarterback gets hurt most in the entire NFL. So to have a backup quarterback to come in and save your season like Mac Jones did is worth more to me than a second round pick. Because if Mac Jones wasn't here and we had, Bethard or whoever, they want to draft as a backup quarterback.
Bashar.
What was his name?
CJ Beathard.
CJ Beathard. What am I made up like an English accent there.
Or even like a Brandon Allen. I mean, if he was here in place of Mac Jones, we would not be where we are right now. It'd be over. It'd be like, well, there it went.
Yeah,
we'd be doing a pre-draft special on this show talking about who we're gonna draft instead of hey, we're in the wild card hunt. So to me, that proves more invaluable, and especially if they don't want to address the offensive line, then you have to have a very, very good backup quarterback because Brock Purdy is gonna get hurt. It's proven over and over again. Kyle Shanahan gets his quarterbacks murdered. Now, if you want to trade Mac Jones to a team that wants to give you a player swap for like a left tackle, all right, cool, let's do it. You want, instead of a first round pick, trade me your left tackle. You can have Mac Jones.
Yeah, I don't know if left tackle will be the target, knowing Trent Williams is probably coming back next year, but I think improving the offensive line would be a big help, whether it's Brock Purdy or somebody else playing quarterback.
I mean, there's a lot of people saying that Trent Williams, this is it. He's done.
Yeah,
and if you listen to Larry, I heard you guys talking. He's like, they're going to be worse next year. I
don't know that.
I get the concept of they're going to be worse next season because they're going to be older. But that doesn't mean they're going to be bad. Look how good McCaffrey is. And still you have people saying, well, I think he's lost a step. No, he's having a phenomenal season. So I don't know. But to me, that concept is like, look, yes, they're going to get older, but that doesn't mean they're going to get worse. I just don't get that.
Aaron, you feel like you have something to say?
Yeah, see, I understand why Larry said that because, it was the stream that he had with Sterling. This perception, or
we were watching Larry, not Sterling, but go ahead.
Yeah, thank you guys for not watching my channel on the stream.
I watched it on Larry's channel, and I dropped a super chat.
Oh, I'm not paying him. Are you crazy? No. This whole mindset of like punting on a season in the midst of a season, even if you're not saying it, it's implied that like it's really next year we're worrying about. And I just think that's dangerous thinking. But if that's really the mindset that they're going with, regardless of what they try to spin it as, yeah, I want compensation. If that is your plan, and your plan is get better through the draft, we're gonna out draft everybody with our insane pro football drafting skills, then yeah, bring in a draft pick for him. Because I don't know, there's this whole thing this year with like we're in it but we're not. It's really about next year's mindset that is kind of just like permeated through the organization.
Right. So let's kind of shift the conversation, because I think there is something to that. And you have to ask yourself this, and I think I'm trying to kind of find my way through the water about the same question I'm going to ask you guys too, is because Mac Jones has proven to be so valuable to San Francisco this year. He saved their season. Like, you can't dispute that. He saved the year. And so I think that in itself may make him, like Mike said, invaluable to the roster. If Brock Purdy misses a couple games next year, which has happened in the last 2 seasons, you may want to have a high-end backup quarterback. You can't tell me teams like the Vikings, who I know aren't playing good football, but they're in the playoff hunt still, wouldn't have loved to have Mac Jones. The Bengals, albeit their defense is terrible, wouldn't have loved to have Mac Jones over Jake Browning early in the season. Like, you just can't tell me that's incorrect. And so if Purdy, who misses maybe a couple games per year, if you can kind of, I guess, float or stay somewhat competitive with Mac Jones as your backup and risk losing him in 2027 and get a compensation pick back, why would you trade him away this year? And I get it, Aaron, you're going back to the whole point of you're somewhat punting on the year. I wouldn't go that far, but I get where you're coming from with it. Why would you not trade Mac Jones? Why wouldn't you want to maximize your draft capital in return? And I think there is something to that in regards to this quarterback class, quite frankly, sucks. It's Fernando Mendoza, and he may go top 10, and that's it.
He may go number 1 or number 2.
Which he's having a good year, Indiana, but the odds would say there's 5 other teams looking for a quarterback, and Mac Jones becomes the next guy on the board, and that can net you something big. I just don't know what team is giving you a second-round draft pick for Mac Jones. Now, Tim Kawakami said maybe a conditional third that can become a second if he leads the team to the playoffs the next year. And if that's the case, there is one team I have in mind. It's in the AFC North, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They love being average. Aaron Rodgers is probably gone after this year. You give me a conditional third-round draft pick that can be a second-round draft pick once Mac Jones leads you to 9-8 and you go to the playoffs, sign me up for that. You have a second-round pick in the high 20s. You'd have 3 picks in the top 50. I would do that. But then going back to Mike's point, can you risk losing Mac Jones? Do you believe in Curtis Rourke that much? Is there some guy in free agency you'd like to sign? And I think that's the kind of conundrum you find yourself in as to who is Mac Jones more valuable for? The San Francisco 49ers in 2026 or an opposing team next season?
How can you not put respect on Adrian Martinez's name? The guy was a UFL MVP. But look at this. I mean, like, when you look at the unrestricted free agents going into next season, right? Obviously, there's Daniel Jones. He's probably not going anywhere. The Colts are going to retain him. Anthony Richardson is probably going to get traded. Who knows? Who cares?
He'll be a Jet.
He'll be a Jet.
That's
but when you look at who's out there, right? I'll throw some names at you guys and let me know what you think. Marcus Mariota. That's a name that could be a backup quarterback. He's mobile.
He's terrible.
He's not that good. Great Oregon, though. Zach Wilson. Kenny Pickett. Case Keenum.
He's still playing.
He's going to be a free agent. He's also 37, so probably not. Let's see. Trey Lance. Carson Wentz.
For Trey Lance.
No, these are all free agents. They're going to be
Carson
free agents.
Carson Wentz actually wouldn't be that bad, I think.
Carson Wentz, I thought, looked terrible when he was out there. Very inaccurate, overthrowing a lot of players.
Offensive line also sucks.
Give me
maybe they should sign
Winston.
You eat dubs out there in the
Bay. Sam Howell, Tommy DeVito, Gardner Minshew. I mean, look, it's not a very deep class. Malik Willis. I know he beat the Niners, but still. Jake Browning. So a lot of these guys aren't like the cream of the crop. They're like, oh, okay, well, there's that. I think Kenny Pickett is intriguing, but then again, he hasn't started for anybody in the past 2 seasons, so this guy probably is a big nothing burger. So I would say, look, out of all these names on there, possibly Zach Wilson, but he's kind of a head case. I think a guy like Marcus Mariota will probably be a safe bet because he's been a backup quarterback for pretty much his entire career. So I think he could fill in that role. Obviously, there's Jimmy Garoppolo, who would never come back here ever again. Mitch Trubisky, which I didn't even know he was still playing. So again,
Josh Allen's back up in Buffalo right now.
He is. So again, when you hear all these names, right? None of these names really stand out to you like, oh, that's the guy that could replace Mac Jones. Now, look, Kyle knows how to rehab quarterbacks like none other, right? But none of these guys stand out to you. So then you ask yourself, well, wait, maybe we hang on to Mac Jones for one more year. Now, if Mac Jones says, hey, I want to be traded. Like, I feel like I've earned the right to ask you guys to trade me because I want to be a starter somewhere else. That's a little different.
There is speculation from Tim Kawakami as to he signed a 2-year deal, kind of helping San Francisco help him out of like, I'll do 2 years. If I play and maximize my value, you trade me to somewhere else where I can start. So might be onto something there, Dre.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is that you don't have a lot of big options. You still have Curtis Rourke. You still have Adrian Martinez, but we haven't seen them actually play in an NFL game, so we don't know how good they're going to be. And they're likely going to draft another quarterback in this next draft, somewhere late in the, 6th round or whatnot. So there's plenty of options for us to pick from, but I think that if the value is high enough for Mac Jones, you got to make that move. If someone gets desperate enough where the Vikings are like, hey, we'll give you a 2nd-round pick, boom, done. I wouldn't think twice about it.
Well, so, and I don't want to jump on Aaron and Mike, but let me ask you guys this. What is a level of compensation you couldn't say no to, or you'd be comfortable letting Mac Jones go for? Let's say it's a 3rd-round pick and maybe a 7th-round pick. Would you let him go?
A 3rd-round pick, I would. Absolutely.
A 3rd and a 7, would you say yes?
A 3rd and a 7? Yeah, I'd be like, let's do it.
Okay. Aaron?
Sign me up.
A 2nd, I would still want a mid-rounder and a late rounder the following year. So I would want a 2nd, maybe a 4th, and then a 7th.
You want 3 draft picks for Mac Jones?
Sure.
You ain't trading Mac Jones in, brother. I'm sorry.
You never know. Teams get desperate. They're like, whoa, I need a starter.
That's fair.
I need a starting quarterback. I mean, J.J. McCarthy has not looked sharp at all. Mike, what do you think? What would be your asking price for Mac Jones?
A 3rd rounder? Absolutely not. Have you guys not seen the track record of this administration drafting in the 3rd round?
Sherman again. You don't want Ty Davis price again, Mike?
No, but Mike, I agree because I mean, look, I want to trade Hendrickson. These guys were like, "No, you guys save your draft picks." I'm like,
that's a rental.
I would send him my 2nd round. I would say, take my 2nd-round pick. Okay, he's a rental, right? But think about this: if he was on the roster right now, how much more confident would you feel about the Niners going in the playoffs? I would feel way more confident having Trey Hendrickson.
The exact same level.
Why?
I would feel way more confident
because this team has a hard ceiling.
Well, Mike's talking.
The NFL is so wide open right now. There's really no truly dominant team, right? Especially in the you have the Eagles and the Rams, but we already beat the Rams. We could beat them if our defense was better. Kyle can figure it out, and I think it was just so wide open this year. And I think things just broke the Niners' way that they were in a position to put themselves to be a true contender. I think, that's a whole nother subject. But as far as the whole Mac Jones thing and what I think, the true compensation would be, like I said, 3rd-round pick, absolutely not. We flush those down the toilet left and right. That's not even worth it for me. And I think the 49ers have to value the backup quarterback more than any other team in the NFL, just because the odds of them playing are just so much higher. And every win is worth so much to you as a franchise than a draft pick. Honestly, I wouldn't even want a draft pick. I would want a player swap because I don't trust them.
What about a 3rd in a player swap, Mike?
Okay. Who's the player?
Yeah,
it's like a DB.
A guard,
teams getting Mac Jones are probably trying to win.
But see, people
aren't going to give you valuable pieces.
Teams are not going to trade offensive linemen. Those are gold. They don't trade them. They don't.
I want to hear what Mike. I wanted to hear what he had to say.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I just don't trust them to draft right in the early rounds. That's why I'm like, yeah, you can give us a first. Any other team, if I'm the Rams or whatever, and I can trade my backup quarterback for a 1st-round pick, 100%, of course. But just this, they don't have the track record of doing anything with these picks that would make me value that over Mac Jones, who just came in and saved our season.
Yeah.
And like you said, all the free agents that are out there next year, like we have the ability. We're in the driver's seat to ask for the compensation because it's not out there. It's not out there in the draft, and it's not out there in free agency for these teams that really need a quarterback. So like it better be a haul. It better be a haul, honestly, because for how valuable Mac Jones is to us, look what he did. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It has to be worthwhile.
Who is the last backup quarterback to get traded to net back an actual haul of picks or players? I can't think of one.
Montana?
But that's okay. I mean, like, you can't pick one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time
He's
and equate it to Mac Jones.
Listen, I'm a Montana guy. Montana's my GOAT. He always will be because I'm old. I'm 40, almost 46.
But that's
no, I don't know.
Not Mac Jones.
No, he's definitely not Mac Jones. He don't got 4 rings on him. And
exactly. So, like, I don't know what team would pay that high of a price for Mac Jones. And I think
teams in the past have made stupid trades for quarterbacks just because they're so desperate to get one.
But, like, think of teams picking in the top 10. Like, the Titans have their quarterback, right? The Jets don't have one. They're going to draft probably Mendoza from Indiana. Let's assume that. Then the Raiders still have Geno under contract. The Vikings.
Geno Smith is terrible, dude.
He's terrible, but he's under contract for the next couple of years.
Yeah, Chip Kelly's offense doesn't work in the NFL. It doesn't. Yeah. It does not work. It never has.
We know
people want to call Shanahan's offense like a bunch of trickery and misdirection and all that stuff. Chip Kelly, that is what it's a college offense that does not work in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is crazy, too, because it didn't work in Philadelphia. It didn't work in San Francisco. And now it doesn't work in Vegas. But I just don't know what team that needs a quarterback is willing to move that much compensation for a guy like Mac Jones, who, mind you, it will be a rental piece for them as well next year, unless they sign him to a contract. So
they might.
And like San Francisco has some leverage in that regard. Mike said it, under contract for next year. You may have some leverage. The quarterback class isn't good. The free agent class isn't good. So you can kind of hold Jones to a higher value than most off seasons. But I just don't know. Like, Tennessee isn't getting a quarterback. The Colts have a quarterback. Pittsburgh may be somewhat eager to get Mac Jones, but
I think the Vikings make the most sense because they got J.J. McCarthy. They want to develop him, right? I mean, he was a first-round pick.
Well, then he needs to play.
Exactly what I was going to say. He needs to play.
I mean, if you get a guy like Mac Jones, I mean, look, you got a lot of talent on your team, and if J.J. McCarthy's not the answer, maybe he is down the road, then you acquire a guy in Mac Jones, you make him your starter, you got him for 1 year, and then he can be the quarterback ahead of J.J. McCarthy to try and lead this team back to the playoffs.
Do you think the Vikings would actually sit McCarthy? He was hurt last year, mind you, but they were going to sit him for most of the year anyways, with Darnold playing quarterback until JJ hopefully usurped him as a starter. Then he comes in this year and plays like this freaking hot dog flavored water throughout the season. It's like, you can't bench him and then hope to go back to him. Like, that's where quarterbacks lose confidence, and that's where regimes get fired. Like, you can't do that with guys. Like, I think if Mac Jones goes to a team, that team is going to want to compete next year because they believe he can be a guy to help bridge them to somebody else or make them competitive enough to go to the playoffs.
How about Miami?
I told my brother that. He's like,
do you bench Tua? Do you bench Tua?
Well, isn't this his last year of his contract?
No.
There's some kind of out in his contract because
there might be an out. Yeah,
there was talk about them getting rid of him at the end of the year, and I think if there is an out, they will definitely get out from under that contract because he's not the answer there. I mean, Mac Jones could be a fit there because then that's a guy you can plug in and kind of run a similar offense that you had with Kyle Shanahan under Mike McDaniel. If he's still there. I mean, they said they're like, we're not looking to fire Mike McDaniel, but that didn't make any sense. Everybody was like, what? Even Mike McDaniel, I'm sure if you talked to him personally, he'd have been like, yeah, dude, I should have been fired already. I don't know what the hell they're doing. It's just crazy. But I could see him going to Miami because then they can look to try and, draft or acquire a young quarterback and kind of have Mac Jones be that, that fill-in for 1 year. There's plenty of options out there, and I think a lot of teams are willing to try it. The Jets could be a team as well. Another quarterback that I could see the Niners, signing, acquiring is and you guys are going to hate this, is Justin Fields. I mean, remember during the draft process, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they had multiple workouts with Justin Fields. And as a backup quarterback, I could see them going back down and saying, hey, what about that guy? We looked at him pretty closely in the draft. So that's just something to throw out there.
Pass.
I know. But why would they go back to see him multiple times? You know what I mean? So they saw something.
Because you're picking number 3 overall, and he's a prospect.
I know, but we all knew it was going to be Trey Lance, and it was Trey Lance anyway. Like, oh.
So
how much of Kyle Shanahan and what he's been able to do with quarterbacks is why Mac Jones has had the success that he has had?
I think it's definitely helped
and
him.
How
it's
much,
definitely rehabbed him.
But how much of him coming back down to earth when he goes to another team did you see happening? Because I could see it.
I think if he goes to Minnesota, I think he'd be okay. Kevin O'Connell's a pretty good pass game caller.
He's really good, actually.
Yeah.
But I just like Mac talked about when he got to San Francisco, like the first couple games he played, that for the first time he was told by the offensive coaching staff, Kubiak and Kyle, of like, this is the play, this is the read, this is who you're going to throw to, and that guy is going to be open. And Mac was like, for the first time in my career, the guy was wide open. That hasn't happened for me. And so I think there should be some expectation of, although Mac won't maintain this level of 45 attempts per game and 300 yards and whatnot, I think Mac can still throw for a touchdown and, 250 per game and be a competitive team. We mentioned Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo, albeit wasn't a world beater, he's a competitive quarterback in a really good system. You give Mac Jones that, I think your team will be pretty good. But Mike, what do you think? Do you think they should trade Mac Jones? But also, what team do you believe could be an actual destination for him that would give you what you wanted for Mac Jones?
I don't think there's going to be a team out there that's going to give me what I want, because obviously I see Mac Jones as invaluable to the team. And, it's just like you said, it's not realistic. When was the last time a backup quarterback fetched that much, draft capital back? It's not really realistic. I just think he's worth more to the Niners than he is worth to another team, just because the injury history of the quarterback situation in Niner land. This offensive line is really bad. They like to get their quarterbacks hurt. Even if they buy them Toyota trucks, it doesn't matter. They'll still get smoked. And there's going to be quarterback desperate teams. Like I said, maybe Miami is an option. I do think Tua has some type of out this year. I could have swore I read that somewhere. That's why I got to find out.
Let's see.
Yeah, I could have swore I read that somewhere, and that's why it came to my mind. But
Sterling likes to prove us wrong.
It's just
I just want to know what's right.
Because there's talk about them getting out from under his contract this next offseason. So there's definitely something to be said about that.
So it's just, Mac, he's actually a really good quarterback. I think he found the right situation here and he's blossoming. And unless he demands a trade from the Niners, I don't see the rush to move him off. I really don't.
I just think if the price is right, if a team comes to you and says, hey, we'll give you a second round pick for Mac Jones, I would do it. Now, even a third round pick, I would highly consider it. But like I said, if the asking price is big enough, or if the offer is big enough, I would take it, because it's like, hey, look, when am I going to have a backup quarterback that's worth this much in trade value, in draft value? Who knows? Now, a lot of teams have crap quarterbacks as their backups.
Is a third round pick worth more than 3 wins to you in a season?
It depends on who we get. I mean, we got Nick Martin in the third round, so
That's what I'm saying. Look at the third round draft history.
I mean, look at it this way. So, Nick Martin, he finally played last week, and in 14 snaps, he had 7 tackles. I mean, that's pretty good. I think he's going to get more playing time this week against the Panthers.
I'm so on the fence with this one, because it's like, if you're going based on what the franchise doing, freaking phone is going off. So oh my God. So if you're going based on what the franchise is kind of selling to you this year, which is next year and draft and all that stuff, if the haul is ridiculous. If a team is dumb enough to give you draft picks mixed in with a player, you kind of have to do it. It would be kind of what they call malpractice.
Mhm.
But on a personal, like, football, like, appreciation for what Mac has done this year and what he's been able to do for this team and save the team, I don't want to get rid of him. Like, I want him to be the backup because it'd be great. You know how many great teams in the NFL are one quarterback hit away from being done? Like, done, finish, season's over, goodbye, see you next year.
I mean, I get it, dude. I get it, and I agree. But I'm telling you, if the offer's big enough, I would take it.
Yeah, I think I can make a prediction. I think they view Curtis Rourke as their quarterback 2 of the future.
They do.
He had
they
a
do.
lot of starting experience in Indiana. Pre-Fernando Mendoza, played 5 years in college. He's 26 next year, coming off an ACL injury. He'll have an entire year to kind of grow in the offense behind the scenes and kind of work with Kyle in the meeting rooms and the quarterback coaches and whatnot. And I would not be shocked at all if Mac Jones is traded for a 3rd-round draft pick next or during the offseason. Whatever that pick is earmarked for, we have no idea. It could be a hit. It could be a miss. That's the draft in itself. But I think that they value Rourke's starting experience in college and believe that can help translate into being a quick QB2 replacement, if you will, behind Mac Jones. And I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, going back to Aaron's point, if they're kind of preaching next year, all in, it would make the most sense to trade away Mac Jones. I hate doing that because he's so valuable to the team. Mike, you have a lot of good points and how valuable he is. And I think, that is kind of the fence they're on of like, which way do we go? Do you risk losing the best backup quarterback in football and maybe not have any good quarterbacks behind Brock Purdy? Or do you want that 3rd-round pick or something else in return that can actually maybe help fortify the offensive line or the secondary? Like, if that 3rd-round pick's a really good safety, then sign me up. Like, why wouldn't you say yes to that? But we all know quarterback is the most important position in sports, whether it's baseball, NBA, soccer. Quarterback means the most to almost any single team. But I did look up his contract to give us some information. From what I could find, the out into his contract is after 2026, which means if they released him then, they can avoid what I believe is a $17 million guarantee in his contract in 2027, and they could only take on a $34.8 million cap hit that year and spread the rest of it out through 2028 as well. So the out seems like it's next year. But
Next
I
year.
mean,
yeah.
Look, we talk about a 3.5 man front. We talk about, getting a 3rd-round pick, possibly a 2nd-round pick. The thing is that, like, if we're able to land another, another guy to help out our defensive line. I mean, look at last night.
You want to pass?
Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter combined for 4.5 sacks, 17 pressures, and had 36.1 pass rush win rate. The Niners have had that in like all year. Like our number 2 leading sack leader is Nick Bosa. He hasn't played since week 3, and so it's kind of like, man, if I get a 2nd-round pick and I can get a guy like a Will Anderson or somebody else, come on.
Will they? That's
but
the
will
question.
they? You never know.
Won't.
Are they going to take Jake Moody again? I don't know. We got Matt Gay.
Hey, we might need a new punter. I don't know if I feel really good about Morstead. So
he might retire. He's so old.
He's going to retire. He's probably going to retire. Let's stick on the pass rush before we get into the Ayuk trade stuff, because Aaron wanted to dive into what John Lynch said today on KNBR, because as he rolls his eyes, he has been rather upset with the pass rush and the inactivity by the front office to help fortify that position at the trade deadline.
That's where me and Dre agree, is just like inactivity and a big need. Whatever.
John Lynch essentially said that in a roundabout way that he saw the lack of sacks against the Cardinals when Brissett dropped back about 50 times last Sunday, and that was somewhat concerning to him. But he believes that they were getting pressure, but just really couldn't bring the quarterback down. This is your thing, Aaron. You didn't like that. You were frustrated by it. Maybe there is some non-buyer's remorse by John Lynch, but what'd you make of that, and how do you feel today about it?
John Lynch, I love him, and I love what him and Kyle have done for this franchise. but he's a it's politician talk, man. He takes a fresh coat of paint on a turd and he wipes it right over the top of it. And that's what he did. You cannot make me feel good when you had 57, was it 57 dropbacks? 57, 47 completions, almost 60 dropbacks, and you had no sacks. None. I don't want to hear about you getting close.
They got real close.
Close is good in hand grenades and horseshoes. Like, that's the only time it matters. Don't tell me that. I'm not saying that one player at the trade. I'm not saying that one player at the trade deadline would have made a difference because we're so injured. But dude, it just makes you look that much worse.
Jalen Phillips would have got there.
It's just probably.
He would have.
John, I love you to death. You're the master politician. You can. You most of the time you can make chicken salad out of chicken shit, but not this time, baby. You're not selling me on that. We almost got there. What does that mean? Like, you go against a good team with a good line. You need to score. What, you got to score 60 points to beat somebody? Get out of here, dude. I'm not buying that. Sorry.
You know, it's a case too where when you look at our schedule and you see, you know, these easy games or winnable games, I should say, and coming up, especially with the Panthers and the Browns and the Titans. You know, it's kind of disheartening because you look at it and you go, yeah, they could win all those games and they can improve to 10-4, but then it's like, well, is this fool's gold? Is it like,
right?
Is it really a 10-4 team, or is this just a team that beat some really bad teams and then get trucked against the elite teams in the playoffs? So that's one thing I'm worried about. And I'm hoping the offense can really come into form and become a powerhouse because they're going to have to be at this point.
I agree. I think it was what John Lynch said was just, like Aaron said, he's being political. He's saying the right thing to say. He knows deep down inside, he was like, that was a shit show. You know what I mean? That was unacceptable on any standard. I mean, is that an NFL record where someone dropped back 57 times and not one sack? That's got to be insane. I've never seen that in my life. 13 pressures. He has to know that. I think they know deep down inside this defensive line does not have it, and their lack of making a move on the trade deadline was just, I don't know. I don't understand it. I get it. We're not one player away, but they could have got something. Like even now, go after somebody's practice squad and just bring some juice in, or just bring something in, because after that last game, you cannot go the rest of the season and say we have enough.
I would have thought that they would have offered a third-round pick for Jalen Phillips, and just to say, hey, just tell the team we got somebody, and we want to support you guys, and we want to remain competitive. And to me, that wouldn't have been that much to give up. I mean, obviously you want to keep your third-round picks, but like Mike has said, and I've said it before, they haven't proven, and they don't have a track record of drafting the right players with these draft picks. So it's kind of like, hey, we kind of suck at this. We might as well get a guy in here that can at least help us out this season. And maybe we re-sign him. Who knows? I know you disagree, but I'm just saying, man, like,
no, you're
having Jalen Phillips, okay, aside from Trey Hendrickson, having Jalen Phillips on this team, I'd feel a little bit better about our pass rush and our defense having another guy on the defensive line. That would have been like, hey, at least they did something.
Yeah,
like
you feel better about it for sure.
Rush the passer, like that has proven.
Bryce Huff is all alone. He's just like, whoa! And Keon White he's not very fast. He's just like a big guy who's, he's doing a good job, but still.
Remember,
what was their pressure rate against the Cardinals? Do you have those numbers?
I can bring them up right
47
now.
completions. They tied an NFL record last week.
Well, I mean, but look.
Bryce Huff had a 20% pass rush win rate. Elliott had a 12.5. White had a 8.3. Samo had a 7.7.
Wow.
So it's not terrible. Like 10 is starting, like kind of the baseline.
How many
for a
pressures
starter.
they have, or how many hurries?
They have 13 total pressures.
So
I think that is their fourth highest since week 3.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
the
my
guy
brother,
dropped back 57 times.
I mean, you're not
Come
wrong.
and get me.
Yeah.
my brother,
No.
my brother made a good point about the Texans pass rush. He said not only are they really good, he goes, but they're sound and their gap integrity. Like even when the Niners have had really good pass rushes, they tend to whiff. They have like no plan once they get to the quarterback and they get upfield.
It's also unfair to compare even a really good Niners pass rush, which in recent seasons has been Chase Young, who really isn't that good, Randy Gregory, who really wasn't that good. Like you saw what a really good Niners pass rush looked like weeks 1 through 2.5, basically, and it was
Actually,
damn good.
They looked
Damn
really
good.
good against the Falcons. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
Bryce
they
Huff
did.
looked like a monster.
But
and then
that
he
was
got
also
hurt.
with Micah healthy. That was with, Bryce Huff out there. And I don't know, like we've talked long and hard about, I didn't think there was a move that actually changes things for them. Yeah, you can get a guy in here and make yourself mentally feel better about things, but I don't think anyone they were going to acquire was going to change the outcome of the season for them or make them a wild card contender to a Super Bowl contender overnight. Now, obviously, you want to be better. The offense is playing well, and we all knew the offense is going to have to carry the workload, even if they were fully healthy or banged up. And that's where we're at now. Thank God Brock Purdy and Pearsall are back. But I think there is, at least from what John Lynch said, I think it does feed into what Aaron's getting at, though, of like, while I would still agree that there wasn't a move to be made, you can't make that comment after you did nothing. I think that's the bigger issue because
Exactly.
like you can't sit back and say, oh, he didn't say these words exactly, but you can't say, yeah, it was concerning or yeah, I was somewhat, upset as to why we didn't bring some sacks home when maybe that could have been changed had you been active in some degree. Now, Keon White was acquired 2 days prior to the deadline, so maybe they want to use that. And they didn't plan on Michael getting hurt, which that also feeds into maybe the pass rush not being great either. A guy that can no longer take up double teams isn't on your defense. But you can't make that comment and then not do anything. And now you're 2 weeks removed from the deadline because you did nothing. And now you're like, well, pass rush really wasn't that great. I'm hoping it can change going forward. And it's like, well, okay, like I can defend John Lynch on a lot of things, but what I can't do is sit back and sit here and like, okay, we're gonna trust the sacks will catch up to the pressure total.
Yeah, right.
Like that doesn't.
They
make
were
sense.
lucky to get Keon White. At this point, it's like, thank God they got him.
Which is funny because their 7th round draft pick, if he plays the rest of the year, and gotta hope he does, knowing the injuries they had, that's going back to the Patriots anyways. So that is a 6th and 7th going back to New England for Keon White, which you may love or hate, I don't know, but like, are you banking on Nick Martin and D Winters and nickel blitzes and safety blitzes to finally get home? I don't know. And you can survive with that against the Panthers, who are, one of the worst teams against the blitz quarterback wise in the NFL. You can survive against the Browns with their 4th-string quarterback in Shedeur Sanders, but you play Daniel Jones, you play Sam Darnold, who may or may not be a pumpkin come January, or you play Stafford again come the first round of the playoffs, and it's like, you're going to be in some deep shit against those quarterbacks.
We had 5 sacks last week?
No.
What? No.
What's he talking about? Cam's dad.
Cam's dad.
You said there was a lot of holding calls.
I mean, sure, I guess. But
it was like 16 penalties. It was like, oh my God.
17 penalties, a Cardinals franchise record last
That was
weekend.
horrible. The Cardinals were trying everything they could to get Jonathan Gannon fired. They were like, dude, hey, one more? Let's do one more. Jonathan Gannon was like, oh my God, what do I have to do to get through this game? And even the press conference, I watched his press conference. He was so mortified. He was like, oh my God, what do you say? You're like, oh God. And look, I think this is a testament to Kyle Shanahan, to Robert Saleh, the organization. Yes, they've made some decisions that we haven't agreed with, but with this many injuries that they had, we saw the Arizona Cardinals have this many injuries, and they basically imploded. It had 17 penalties, got blown out, and the Niners are still competitive and now are getting healthier. So, to me, that's a testament to the organization.
And coaching, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have 2 super chats, both via Cam's dad. Number 1, once again, he says, the rash of rookie QB failures is glaring. Yeah, I'd agree.
Absolutely.
Like teams don't let quarterbacks develop, nor do college organizations and universities really run pro style offense as much anymore, which certainly doesn't help those guys.
They don't draft quarterbacks into situations where they actually might have a chance.
Yeah.
That's what Tom Brady was talking about. Like, you come into a building and you don't one of the great things about Joe Montana and the era of the 49ers is just the amount of great assistant coaches they had and how those assistant coaches helped make these great quarterbacks that our history of our franchise has had. It's important. You can't just throw a guy to the wolves and be like, hey, go figure it out. Like, no.
Yeah.
There has to be a plan to groom a guy. Like Montana was groomed. He didn't start his first year. He was in and out the second year. And by the third year, they were a Super Bowl champion. You know what I mean? Like, it was a gradual thing.
If you're the Browns, you're like, we got Shedeur Sanders. This guy's going to be the next big thing. Who's probably going to be the quarterback against the Niners in a couple of weeks. You know, Matt Barrows threw out a trade idea involving Brandon Ayuk and Mac Jones. He said, basically what he said was, you put together a deal where you trade Mac Jones and Brandon Ayuk to the Cleveland Browns. The idea is that to get out from under Ayuk's contract. I think it's.
Didn't Ayuk decline to get traded to the Browns in the first place?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying if you pulled that off, I mean, the Browns have to be. They would have to be the biggest idiots in the world to be like, okay, we'll do it. You know? I can't see it. I can't see him doing it. I can't.
Did Barrows list some compensation?
No. He said, but really the deal is having them taking Ayuk off of their hands. Maybe you only get a third-round pick for both of them.
Right, which is crazy.
That's crazy. That's the case, I'd rather keep Ayuk.
But that's more of a take the money, free us of this contract, give us a third-round draft pick back, which lowers the value of those players. Obviously, I hate that for San Francisco. Excuse me. You can probably get a fourth-round pick back for Brandon Ayuk today, and you can probably get a third for Mac Jones back today, and you can walk in the next year with a third and fourth-round draft pick on top of what you already have. But for Cleveland, I don't hate that if I'm Cleveland. I get Brandon Ayuk and Jerry Jeudy and Harold Fannin Jr., and I get an actual competent quarterback, although I'd fire Kevin Stefanski. That guy's
he's got to go. He's got to go.
But okay, let's kind of turn this back around into the Brandon Ayuk trade discussion. And I want to get Aaron and Mike more involved here. I know me and Jay are hogging the mics right now, and I want to pass on the ball. And we'll start things off with Mike, because Tim Kawakami had an article released earlier this week via the San Francisco Standard. And in that article, he mentioned that San Francisco has been trying to trade Brandon Ayuk for a while. They didn't like the deal when they signed it. There may be some resentment towards the wide receiver at the moment from somebody in that front office. We don't know who it is. It's like a masked figure. We don't know who that person is, but they don't like the deal they made. And he says they can trade Ayuk during the offseason and save themselves, I believe, if I can find it, what he called roughly, I think it's like $26 million guaranteed, something along those lines, and save some money in return. One, are you open to trading Brandon Ayuk, or are you amongst the fan base saying, I want a CBA come back and be a great San Francisco 49er, whether this year or next year?
So I was a big proponent of re-signing Brandon Ayuk in the very beginning. I just saw his production as, it would be hard to find someone to replace all those yards, all those touchdowns. Him and Purdy had a great connection. Ayuk was one of the smoothest route runners. But, I definitely got turned off to Ayuk during the contract negotiations. And I think a lot of the fan base kind of feels the same way. They're a little bit jaded with his attitude. And, especially after when he did get paid, he came back and he was unprepared. He was sloppy. He was dropping balls. He had attitude, and it's just like, dude, you got your money. You got everything you asked for. You asked for all the drama. He even stated, part of it was my fault because I was being a drama queen. And it's like, you come back and then you play like that. And it's like, now with all the drama going on, it's like, dude, I'm good with you going, bro. Like, honestly, like, we don't need that here. It just seems like he's still going to have that diva mentality. And I'm just not. I'm kind of over it. I really am.
So you are in the camp of let's finally trade Brandon Ayuk now.
Yeah. I am.
Okay.
Even though
Okay.
I used to love him, and I think
Right.
I think wherever he goes, I think he's gonna ball out. I just think that situation has soured here so bad where he's gonna need a change of scenery. I just don't
Okay.
see how it's gonna work.
I don't think you're alone in thinking that. I know Aaron has been a very big proponent of trading Brandon Ayuk and kind of been done with a BA for a long time. And I know me and Aaron and Dre have talked a lot throughout the year during this podcast about, when is BA going to come back? Week 6, week 10, week 1, week 12. When will the return of BA eventually happen? And Aaron is in the group, I believe, that is saying we're not going to see him again this year. And I'll give it to Aaron here too. Do you think we'll ever see Brandon Ayuk return in a Niners jersey this year, next year, in the future? And does that mean he is going to be traded this offseason?
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna. We're not going to see Brandon Ayuk anymore. I think he's gone.
Okay.
I think between the situation that happened last year and his poor attitude, and the whole contract drama, the Niners were kind of bent over a barrel and forced to sign a contract to a guy. I mean, he's been like Mike said, he's been good, but to me, he's not worth the money that they signed him to, based on his production, just based on him not really being the first or second read in the offense or the first or second option. He's kind of the third option. If you go McCaffrey 1, Kittle 2, then it's him. I've never been a fan of his attitude, his body language, all of that. Even when I was a proponent of his to be here, I've always had a little bit of an issue with Brandon Ayuk. And if Parasol shows some things in this second half of the season, as we get towards the playoffs, that just reaffirms my decision that they got what they needed, or they have what they need in Parasol in this offense, and they're probably going to draft the receiver in the draft next year. I can almost guarantee it. You ball everything together, and then he's coming back from a pretty significant injury. Like, how productive is he really going to be? How long is it going to take him to ramp up before he's actually part of this offense where you can actually count on him? You put all together, and it's just like, hey, if we can get some compensation for him going into the offseason, and we can clear the books of that kind of money, and maybe, who knows, maybe they use that money and they go sign a free agent that we don't expect them to sign next offseason, which would be incredible, like a pass rusher or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All that being considered, I think he's played his last down as a 49er. I personally don't want to see him back. I think they're fine. I think they're fine without him.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm good with him not coming back at all as a 49er.
Dre, before you jump in, I just want to add, there is so much context in this Brandon Ayuk saga. Whether it's San Francisco not offering him a contract before the draft, refusing to trade him, kind of sitting on their hands and watching his price tag skyrocket as the offseason progressed, which probably led him to asking for more money, which in some ways kind of opened the door for his diva-ish ways to be on display throughout the offseason of had you been proactive, maybe he's under contract for $28 million per year, not 30, and you can avoid the entire holdout. But they also had him as a free agent in what has become one of the biggest wide receiver free agent classes of all time, and how many contracts were given out that year. But Aaron mentioned he does not even want to see Brandon Ayuk come back this year. Dre, I'll give you that question. Do you think it is wise for San Francisco to bring Brandon Ayuk back to either aid his trade value, or do you say shelve him, let's not see him again, wrap it up, lock, stock, and barrel, and we'll call it a career on Brandon Ayuk's tenure in San Francisco in the offseason anyways?
I think if he's healthy enough to play, I think you bring him back after the bye week. I think that's a viable option. Obviously, if you bring him back, you have to make a move. Who do you cut? You got what? You have Watkins, Jordan Watkins. You have Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall. Who else is there?
Sky Moore,
Robinson, Kendrick Bourne, and Demarcus Robinson. So one of them has to be inactive. Probably Demarcus Robinson, maybe Kendrick Bourne. I don't know. But it seems like Bourne is a little more favored in the locker room, especially with Kyle Shanahan. So, but you have to make a move when he comes back. So that's going to be another challenging effort that you got to figure out. But I mean, you're talking about a guy in 2023 and 2022 had back-to-back 1,000 yards receiving. He had 7 touchdowns in 23, 8 touchdowns in 2022. I mean, the guy was really, really good. Now, granted, we barely saw him last season. He looked like shit, and then he got hurt. So I think, look, if you want to be competitive in the playoffs, I think you have to test out, can you get back on the field and can you make a difference out there for the offense? And on top of that, if he does come back and look good and it has good games, then I think it adds to his trade value. Now you're just trying to trade him based on his numbers in 2023 and 2022. Like, look what this guy did. This is incredible. He's fully recovered. And so his value may go down based on the fact that he didn't even play this season. So I think, look, John Lynch said the plan all year has been for him to play. So I think that they are looking to try and get him back on the field. There's been a lot of talk because they're like, oh, we haven't really seen him at practice, but they keep saying, like, no, the goal is to get him back on the field. And I think, again, if you can get him back, that's another huge asset for San Francisco for the offense.
Mike, Aaron, do you guys believe that Ayuk can, if he returns this year, whether it's week 16, week 17, whatever it may be, do you think his return, because I don't think his trade value can get any lower than it is right now.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the case, or do you think there is a possibility if he returns and looks like he did in 2024, pre-injury, sluggish, slow, dropping the football, do you think there is a chance the Niners are worried that if he comes back and stinks, that they can't trade him at all during the offseason? Mike, what do you think about that?
I kind of think so a little bit, because look what happened when he just missed training camp, the year before. He
100%.
came back and he was horrendous. He looked nothing like the player he was. And so now you take him from having a catastrophic injury to his knee and missing, a year and a half of football. What is he going to look like when he comes out on the field? His trade value, I think, would tank, honestly. So maybe their aspect of it is, hey, let's just keep it. Hey, his injury's coming back. He's fully recovered. Now we can trade him, because we don't want him going on the field. And then who knows what kind of stunt BA will play on the field and antics. And you know what I mean? It's just like, let's keep this guy shelved, hidden, so he can't open his mouth and talk to the press and, give interviews after games and all this stuff. I don't know. I think, like I said, I think this ship has crashed. And it's a really ugly marriage that they have right now, and I think both sides might be looking to get out.
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with him. And then you look at the fact that, like you said, like his attitude, what antics could he possibly try once he comes back? I think teams, if they're going to make a trade for next year, then there's going to be medicals on him. They're going to do medicals in the offseason to see out where he is. So it's not going to be like a team's just going to trade for him and like, oh, I'm going to give you only a 6th-round pick because he's coming off a catastrophic injury. If they go and they look at his medicals and he's fine. So I don't know. Are the Niners, my question is, because he hasn't been around, people are like, he hasn't been around. Other players have been rehabbing and they've been around. He hasn't been around.
Well, that's actually not true. He's been practicing in the morning before practice begins and media isn't there. So
Okay.
He is at the facility.
So he has
This
been there.
is not on the sideline with the rest of the team that has a chance to return throughout the week, as guys like Pearsall and Purdy have had the last few weeks or so. So he's been there.
Okay, I didn't know that. It's good to know. No, I just think like it's one of those things where sometimes what happens behind the scenes is different than what like Macho Man used to say than what we see on the video scope. Like what is actually going around the background and what's going on in the the facility and like between him, John Kyle, and the front office. Maybe they just don't want to deal with him anymore, and essentially they're just gonna sit him out the rest of the year, and as soon as they can get rid of him in the offseason, they're going to do that. Because this always seemed like a forced marriage when they signed that huge deal. I mean, they liked him, and I appreciated him as a fan. I thought he was okay as a receiver. He was pretty solid. But for everything they went through during that contract negotiations, and then the whole practice thing where he's acting like a petulant baby because he had the wrong shorts on, I'm just like, dude, you're supposed to be a leader on this team with the kind of money you're making.
Exactly.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Now, I don't. His attitude and his way of doing things does not coincide with the way things are run on this franchise. I just don't. I don't like it. So,
100%.
I mean, here's the thing too: is that there was news today that the Niners are not planning on tagging Juwan Jennings, which means that they may not even offer him a long-term contract, which I don't think they will. So already you're looking at Juwan Jennings likely going to be gone at the end of the season. I don't think he's done anything this season that warrants you offering him a long-term deal. I don't. He's also a 7th-round pick as well. So now you're down Juwan Jennings. Kendrick Bourne, I'm sure he'll resign if you offer him a contract, but you're still down a receiver, and you got Brandon Ayuk coming back. So now you're not worried about paying Brandon Ayuk as much money because you're not paying Juwan Jennings a bigger contract. You freed up that money to say, hey, if Brandon Ayuk comes back and he looks anything close to what he looked like, then hey, then maybe we hang on to him for just one more year before we try to move him again. Hope he has a bounce back year next season. But I do believe, kind of what Sterling was saying earlier, that in this upcoming draft, they are going to draft another receiver. I don't know if it'll be in the first, second, third round, but they're going to get somebody else in here because they know, hey, look, we got Pearsall, we have Ayuk, we have Jordan Watkins, and then after that, it's a crapshoot with Demarcus Robinson and Sky Moore. Those guys probably aren't going to be here next year. Who knows? Who knows?
How about this though? With Ayuk or with Jennings playing the way he has this year, is he actually playing himself into a situation where his value is low and the 49ers can afford to bring him back?
They could,
like, it's actually working he's not playing himself out of a contract because he's just playing so well.
I think he's
like
gone. He's gone. I think he'll get a 2-year deal somewhere or a 1-year prove-it deal from another team, and he'll be gone. 1 year, $15 million. He'll split.
I wouldn't mind keeping him, to be honest with you.
Oh, Jacob Cowing. Sorry, Cam's dad. I forgot about Jacob Cowing.
I wouldn't mind keeping him, but maybe the Niners are done with both of those guys, and they need some. I mean, they need juice in this wide receiver room, anyways. They don't have any speed. You know, do they look at Watkins? This is taking a huge step up next year. Because even if they draft a receiver, they don't really develop them to play in the first year. It's always like
unless they're first-round draft picks.
Unless they're first-round draft picks.
Which, ding, 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 I think that's what's going to happen. If you trade Brandon Ayuk, if Juwan Jennings is gone, that first-round pick is going to be a wide receiver.
Kyle's going to get his way. Do you think Kyle's getting his way next year's draft? It's not going to be a tackle.
Anyone who thinks, I'm telling you right now, anyone who thinks that they're going to draft an offensive lineman is on crack. The Niners never do that. They never do that.
Well, that's not true. McGlinchey was the first number 9 overall draft pick.
Well, they had no choice.
However, this offensive tackle class sucks. They're like, anyone saying they got to replace Trent. No, it's not happening this year in the first round, especially. Now, maybe round 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll see how the draft goes and if they like somebody and someone fits that system. They're not getting an offensive lineman in that first round whatsoever. I think you may see defensive tackle. That makes a lot of sense. Get more pressure on the interior with Michael and Huff and Bosa coming back. But I would not be shocked. I really would not be shocked if they go wide receiver in the first round, especially if you lose BA and you lose Juwan. You got to have a wide receiver that can be dynamic, and really a first-round guy this year is probably.
But they have to be able to block too. That's the big thing. Is none of these wide receivers can block. Demarcus Robinson is not a good blocker. Sky Moore, obviously, no. Jordan Watkins, I don't think so. But like if you lose BA, which BA was a great blocker, and JJ is a great blocker, you need that wide receiver that can also block.
Yeah, it's true. San Francisco is really particular with their wide receivers and their offensive linemen, which may in some way bring Brandon Ayuk back to San Francisco next year. We know Kyle loves him to death. We know Kyle advocated to not trade him, ran up to John's office and said, no. He'll finally sign this deal. I don't know who in that front office has some disdain for Brandon Ayuk, but if Kyle can somehow convince them to not trade him, and you walk into next year with Ricky Pearsall, maybe 85% of what Brandon Ayuk used to be, which might be wishful thinking, Jordan Watkins in year 2, Demarcus Robinson, that really isn't the worst room in the entire league. You have seen wide receivers come back from injury, albeit his was a very serious one, that being Brandon Ayuk. Let's go in the round table here quickly. Do you think Brandon Ayuk gets traded? And what would you be willing, like Mac Jones, to accept in return for him during the offseason? Aaron, let's start with you. Is Ayuk gone? And what are you willing to accept to trade him?
Man, I don't know. You guys have kind of talked me into changing my mind here. I'm going to stick with him being gone. Okay. And that being said, I think he fetches maybe a 4th-round pick for his services and maybe a mid-round pick the following year as well. And they move on from him. Unfortunately, I don't see it being, for some reason, receivers just don't go for a whole ton of high draft pick compensation. So, yeah, I think they move on from him, which makes me think they could hold on to a guy like Juwan Jennings, just based on that. If he can, it sucks, man, because now you hear you talking, and it's like, well, maybe he can mend fences. But if Kyle was really running up to the office, who's against him? Is it Parag? Is it Lynch? Is it both of them? Was this like a 2-on-1 situation? Like, who knows?
One of those names.
It's definitely Parag.
There's definitely people in that organization that don't want him here.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not the player. It's the money and the fact that he made them look bad. They lost that deal and they lost negotiations. And if you know businessmen and people in the front office, they do not like to look foolish and they do not like to lose. They are going to hold this over BA. They're gonna hold this vendetta because he made them look bad. And that's bad business from this front office. That's terrible look from the front office. Aaron,
that's one of the reasons why they're doing this whole hard reset. Was of them getting punked out by Brandon Ayuk's camp. Yep. They're like, screw this. We're not spending money on anybody. Kiss our ass. We're going to go draft everybody now. And like,
how bad would that look if Brandon Ayuk's contract was the catalyst of the need to reset and then you get rid of Brandon Ayuk anyways? What looks worse?
They look worse. Yeah. They have a ton of that on their face.
They look terrible if that's the case. But Mike, let's go to you for a second. Aaron says Ayuk's gone. Sorry, Aaron. What would you accept for Brandon Ayuk? You said a mid-round pick, right? 4th-round draft pick.
4th-round draft pick, maybe next. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no. I agree with Aaron. I believe, just based on his injury, his lack of production when he did come back after the negotiation, his little bit of antics. I mean, I don't see anything higher than a 4th-round pick that we would get in compensation for him. Honestly, just that contract is just crazy.
Dre?
I don't think they trade him. I don't. I think,
which is fair.
I think they're going to let Juwan Jennings walk. Jennings isn't like the best route runner. He's not fast. I think they drafted Jennings, and they've gotten more than they thought they would ever get out of a 7th-round draft pick.
True.
And is he going to be a guy they offer a 4-year deal to? No. I don't. They're going to let him walk, get whatever compensation they get for him leaving. And I think that, they're going to hang on to Brandon Ayuk. Now, if they did want to trade him, I don't think you get a 3rd for him because he hasn't played. I think a 4th-round pick is the highest that you'd possibly get. I think the teams would offer you more like a 5th-round pick for him. And with that being said, I'd probably hang on to him. I mean, when you look at the contract situation on the Niners next season, I don't see anybody out there who I'm like, well, I'm going to have to re-sign this guy. I need to free up some more money. Let's see if we can get Ayuk out of here. No, there's nobody. The only guy you could see would be Juwan Jennings, and I can tell you right now, they're not going to re-sign him unless he comes back for like a 1-year prove-it deal. But even then, it's kind of like a slap in the face because he wants more money. But he played like crap all season long, and just recently he's starting to play better. So we'll see. But I don't think they trade him. I don't. And what would have been a shocker in the draft if he would have fell the Niners is if the Niners would have drafted Teteroa McMillan. If he would have fell to the Niners draft pick and they drafted him, everyone would have flipped out because we were like, "What happened to the defensive line?" Kyle Shanahan would have been like, "Well, I need another receiver." So sorry, guys.
Well, if you know the rumors, the Rams were calling the Panthers trying to make a deal up for McMillan. So
that would have been
could have been very dangerous.
That would have been a huge move for them.
Yeah, could have been Devontae, Puka, and Tet. But what Dre hit on there, and I'm leaning towards Ayuk not being dealt this offseason as well. It's, again, like Mac Jones on the fence. What do? You allocate the funds elsewhere, get that money off the books, and go pay for somebody else. But Dre mentioned, and I think it's a good point here, nobody currently needs to be re-signed. The entire defense is basically intact. Everybody's under contract through next season, including D. Winters, I believe. Fred got a new deal. The entire offense, besides Ayuk, the left guard situation, which you can find anybody else to take that spot, and Juwan Jennings. Only about 4 or 5 guys need to be re-signed. So maybe you see San Francisco be aggressive in the draft and move up and kind of get their guy they love, which could certainly backfire. It has in the past, but could lend to Brandon Ayuk returning in his contract not being this kind of dark cloud over the organization it seems to be right now. But Dre also mentioned Tedero McMillan, and let's get into Monday's Panthers-Niner game. Took us almost an hour and a half to get there, but we're finally here. Niners-Panthers, Monday Night Football, prime time in the bright lights at Levi Stadium. God forbid it doesn't rain in the Bay. It's not supposed to on Monday, which hopefully Brock Purdy can stay dry and those smaller hands can stay accurate.
Can't get him wet. He can't get him wet.
Can't get him wet.
But
he's like a Mogwai from Gremlins. You can't get him wet. You can't feed him after midnight. Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen. You can't play in the snow.
Hey, thank God he plays in sunny California for most of the season. But Mike, let's go to you because I want to talk about some key matchups you think can either help San Francisco win or hinder them in their victory chances on Monday. When you look at the Panthers, who are some players, who's a matchup you like or dislike for San Francisco on Monday Night Football?
Well, I think both defenses are going to struggle in this game. So, to me, T-Mac is obviously incredible. I just don't know if we have the corners to match up with their wide receivers physically, size-wise, not, talent-wise. Demo to me is great. I just, he's not the biggest guy, the biggest corner. And then you have Stout, who's, a little mini me. So I'm worried about the wide receiver matchups, and the good thing is Bryce Young has been pretty inaccurate going down the field, but he might have the time this week because he hasn't faced a defense with a pressure rate as bad as this. So he might have some time to be able to settle down and relax and get the ball down the field, and all it needs is to be a jump ball to one of his weapons, and this could be a shootout, so I'm worried about the wide receiver matchup. And then, the running back is a stud. He's been able to run the ball. He's had some really good games. I'm worried about the run. I'm just worried about the defense in general. I don't know what they're going to be able to do. Good thing is Bryce Young has been Jekyll and Hyde. He's had good games, bad games, but like I said, this defense might give him time to settle in and get the ball down the field, read his reads, and throw some jump balls to his talented wide receivers.
Aaron, what do you think about Monday's game? Give me some key matchups you like or don't like.
I just think the 49ers defense as a whole against anybody is a challenge to the 49ers defensively. They don't stop the pass, they can't stop the run, and they don't rush the passer. And that is a combination for if you have you say that the quarterback of the Panthers, his name is
Bryce Young.
He's been hot and cold, right? Like, what a better week to come to the Bay Area playing this defense who does nothing great and have one of those up weeks. I feel like the Niners, it's really kind of hit or miss if they're either going to blow the doors off the Panthers or if this is going to be a straight up shootout. Because, like I said, the Niners do nothing there's nothing the Niners, you can't hang your hat on anything. They're bad against the run, especially in the interior. And I mean, the amount of guys that were running wide open in that secondary last week against the Cardinals, and I'm just like, there's nobody within 15 yards of these guys. Like, what is happening? So between that, I think it's just going to be a who can score more points. And you hope that the quarterback has a down week and we can outscore them. I hate to say it, but every week going forward to me is going to be the same feeling for me because your defense isn't good enough to be dependent on. So everybody stays healthy on offense. I think the Niners can put up over 30 once again, no problem. I don't see that as an issue. So yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
Dre?
I think this game is going to be won on third down. The Niners are offensively, they have the number 3 ranked team in terms of the third down rate at 45.7. You look at the third down defense, the Panthers have the 29th ranked third down defense at 43.4. They cannot get teams off the field on third down. And that's their biggest problem. Niners have the 22nd ranked. They have a 40.8 percentage on third down defensively. And the Panthers are 43.4. I think where they're going to have a hard time, the Panthers, is getting them off the field on third down and slowing down the Niners offense. I think with Brock Purdy back, I think that's where he's going to take advantage of them. You're going to get a lot of first down, second down, first down. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be getting first downs at a higher rate. And I think that the Panthers defense, who has the worst pressure rate in the league, is going to have a hard time stopping the Niners offense. Now, on the flip side of things, you could argue that, hey, look, the Niners defense isn't very good, right? They're giving up a lot of stuff. It's just, they don't do anything right. But when you look at it, they're like the the passing offense. Let me see. For the Niners, you're looking at, they have the second ranked passing offense in the league, averaging 254.5 yards a game, and they have 20 touchdowns through the air. So I think the Niners will find a lot of success throwing the ball against this team. We've seen that Rico Dowdle, that his numbers have gone down the past weeks. And the Niners, what's one thing they've done a good job at is stopping the run. They didn't do it very well a couple of weeks ago. No Alfred Collins. That made a huge difference. But having Collins, Elliott, CJ West, CJ West and Collins alone have made a huge difference in stopping the run. And we saw that last week. So I still believe the Niners are going to shut down Rico Dowdle. I don't think he'll be a factor in this game. They're going to force him to become one-dimensional. The problem is that the Niners cannot get a freaking pass rush on anybody. So you have to hope that the big arms of Alfred Collins can bat down some of these passes from Bryce Young, because he's a little guy. He's as big as you and I out there running around. So the Niners are going to win this game. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to win this game.
You said that they stopped the run last week. They did. Did they just stop running the ball? Because they threw the ball almost 60 times.
Well, I mean, they stopped running the ball, yes, but that game plan is a classic 49ers game plan. Score early, get a lead, make them one-dimensional. That's exactly what they did last week when Brock Purdy came back.
I think it's important to point out that despite, yes, the Cardinals having to pass the football to play some catch-up against the Niners last Sunday, in the team's what looks to be 12 rushing attempts, they had a total of 34 yards. So even when the Cardinals ran the football, which wasn't very much, to Aaron's point, they weren't good at it either. And that may change against the Panthers, who Dowdle is a top 5 running back in regards to production this season. I do want to maybe... Usually this is a part of the show where I tell Aaron, don't worry, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. and sometimes I'm wrong. And sometimes I have to kind of eat my own crow the next Friday, which has happened plenty of times this year so far. But I do want to point out the Panthers offense is terrible. Like they're not, they're average. No, they're terrible. 13 points against the Jets, 9 points against the Bills, 16 points against the Packers, 7 points in a loss against the Saints at home a couple of weeks ago. And it took them an overtime session to score 30 points against the Falcons, who they lost their starting quarterback, who isn't great, Michael Penix, but Kirk Cousins couldn't put that game away, giving the Panthers offense multiple chances to come back. And on top of that, they are below 50% in the red zone this year. They're also below 37% on third downs this season as an offense. They're terrible. Bryce Young has thrown under 150 yards in 3 of his last 4 games. He's thrown 2 picks, fumbled 4 times, and been sacked 9 times. On throws 10-plus yards downfield, he's the 39th ranked passer in the NFL. You cannot play soft zone off coverage. Get in these receivers' faces.
Yes.
Give them some press coverage. Do not let Bryce Young be able to have these guys open on checkdowns and whatnot. Again, on 10-yard throws downfield, the 35th ranked passer with an adjusted passer rating of 47.9. A 33.8% accurate rate in 7 turnover-worthy plays. That is a 6th most in football. Bryce Young, quite frankly, unless he's throwing to McMillan 8 times a game, which he does often and tries to, he sucks. He's the 36th ranked quarterback in football this year when blitzed. You blitz this guy, you play some upfront press coverage, you get in these guys' faces, and you attack the quarterback at will. He'll make mistakes, he'll turn the ball over, and if you can just, God forbid, get Jason Pinnock off the football field, get some Jair Brown bracketing McMillan, play Marquis Siegel for the love of God, and you're going to win this football game. I firmly believe that. Your offense can pretty much battle anybody this year as long as Brock Purdy's playing his best. I think San Francisco wins 31-17. Let's go to score predictions. Dre, what do you think? San Francisco wins, and what's the score?
Since you took my score of 31-17, I'm going to go with 34-19. The Niners defense does give up points later on, but I think we're going to see a similar game to what we saw probably with I can't remember anymore. I think the game will be somewhat close early on, but the Niners will be able to pull away because their offense is healthy again. They have Brock Purdy as their quarterback. I think he's going to make a lot of right decisions. When you look at, 3 weeks ago, Dowdle ran for 130 yards, averages 5.2 a carry against the Packers, right? Since then, against the Saints, he averaged 2.9 and only had 53 yards rushing. Against the Falcons, he averaged 2.4. So if you're going to tell me that he's going to average more than that against the Niners, I don't think so. I think the Niners shut down the run game, make them one-dimensional, and I hope that we can get pressure on the quarterback because when it's 3rd and long, they have been horrible at converting that 3rd down. So I think that's the game plan for the Niners is shut the run game down, force them to 3rd and long, and get off the field. And then if they do that... And if they do that, then they're going to win this game. Like I said, my final score is 34-19.
34-19, that's Dre's final score. Mine's 31-17. Aaron, what do you got?
I think last week I went 35-24 Niners, and it was 42 or 41-22. So I'm going 49ers 38. I'm going the Carolina Panthers 21.
Okay.
I think the Niners defense, we're going to get a good idea either how good or how bad they are in this game, depending on how the Panthers offense either continues to suck, like you said, and their quarterback continues to suck, or we're going to see more of the miscommunication, lack of effort on the, in the pass rush where they just don't get close to guys.
They got to tackle.
I mean, the Falcons defense is terrible. We've seen that already when the Niners played them.
So to me, this is going to be a really telling game. I'm only going 21 just based on the Niners. They just can't get to the passer. They just can't.
Yeah.
They don't get near the passer. 21 points is like my default score if you can't get to the quarterback. It could get really high if they had an actual real quarterback and an offense that scares you. So I'm going 38-21. I think the Niners hopefully don't have to settle for any field goals outside of 50 yards this week because that could be a serious problem with Mr. Gay coming in to kick. So sorry, I knew you were going to react. So yeah, I'm going 38-21 49ers. Niners win, go to 8-4.
All right, Mike, you're the last one on the list. What do you got for us? San Francisco win or they losing on Monday?
No, I think they win this game. This is a game that they should win. Even with all the injuries on their side, they're playing at home. It's Monday night, offense fully healthy. And the best way to supplement the defense, and this is going to be their strategy going from every game going forward, is you just keep your defense off the field. You got to play time of possession, ball control, keep the offense going, long drives, convert on 3rd down, and just limit the snaps on defense so that these guys become one-dimensional. So I'm going to go 49ers win this game. I'm going to go 31-27. 27. I think it's going to be a little bit closer. Maybe some garbage time points by the Panthers at the end.
Okay, you heard it here first. We all have San Francisco winning. Shocker. But Mike has it being a one-score game. The rest of us have San Francisco winning by 2 scores or more. That does it for us here on the Cover 3 podcast. For Mike, for Aaron, for Dre, you can find us all on social media at the tags on the screen for you yourself. You can also find us on YouTube and Mike on X and Twitter. But Niners big game, Monday Night Football, Panthers primetime, Levi Stadium, a must-win wild card matchup for San Francisco in week number 12. Go Niners, and until next time, for Aaron, for Mike, for Dre, I'm Sterling Bennett. This has been the Cover 3 podcast, and as always, stay faithful.